Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this late Tuesday night. This is huge news and it's part of the Durham probe. You can say legacy. But you have the Durham probe special counsel that's coming out with a report. You have Jim Jordan and Representative Mike Turner, of the chief of the House Intelligence Committee. And you have James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chairman, investigating almost exactly what the Durham probe was investigating, but now they have all of the House of Representatives. When people say that the Durham probe was a failure, they're ignoring all the success, the plea deal which would have been an indictment, a easy prosecution, and possible prison time for one Bureau official, Kevin Client-Smith, who deliberately falsified records to a FISA judge. So when people say, oh, it was a letdown, that's not true. Okay. That was already proven in a court of law. There was a plea deal and you had a bureau official who deliberately falsified information to deceive a FISA judge. Okay. The problem with the Durham probe was that he tried to John Durham trying to prosecute the Durham probe in the way Mueller prosecuted the Mueller probe, but Mueller had Paul Ryan, so he had never Trumpers, but he also had all of media and appellate political will. He also had people within the Federal Bureau of Investigation who knew that Trump was innocent. But who stated, well, you know, Michael Flynn or George Papadopoulos, they lied and they lied to us. So it's a felony to lie to a bureau agent. It shouldn't be if it's not recorded, okay. But these interactions, whether it was Michael Flynn, with one I believe it was Strzok, but also McCabe sending two agents, one of whom was forced out of the Bureau for anti-Trump bias and animus to frame and set up Michael Flynn. The only thing they got General Flynn on was allegedly lying to a Bureau agent. Okay. The only thing they got George Papadopoulos on was allegedly lying to a Bureau agent. They never got in the Mueller probe was actual complete failure. The Durham probe indictments showed exactly that there was a concerted effort by Clinton attorneys working for cleantech people to set up and frame Trump. But Durham didn't go ahead and indict people on 18 U.S. Code 371, okay. And then some significant news, oh, so you see how it works, right? Rules for the but not for me, it's only ever outrage, it's only ever fascism, it's only ever a political stunt when Republicans do it, when Democrats do it, it's compassion, they were left with no other choice, they're doing the right thing, they're standing up to help the people in need. Give me a friggin' break. If you ask me at this point, the Democrat Party is a human smuggling operation. Whether working directly or indirectly with the Mexican drug cartels doesn't really matter at this point. And now it seems as though they're directly involved in an actual illegal migrant human smuggling operation. We're now getting reports that the new mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, is coordinating with city officials to pay for the bus rides and send illegal migrants to Canada. Of course, once again, elitist Democrats when met with the exact same challenges that they force on other states and other individuals. Their response is not in my backyard, and they're shipping the problem across an international border into another country. In other words, human smuggling, which of course Eric Adams is denying any involvement, but unfortunately for him, the evidence at this point is pretty much undeniable. Alright folks, so when I initially saw this story, I could not believe it. Eric Adams is denying coordinating to send New York City migrants to Canada. The headline's inaccurate though. What they meant to say was Eric Adams denies coordinating to send New York City illegal migrants to Canada. Mayor Eric Adams denied Tuesday that city officials were, quote, coordinating to send migrants from the Big Apple to Canada and called now a $4.2 billion estimated cost of the influx, a, quote, moving target with no upper limit. Adams was repeatedly asked during an unrelated Manhattan news conference about the Post-exclusive Sunday revelation that City Hall was helping finance bus rides to upstate Plattsburgh for migrants who then illegally enter the Great White North at the unofficial border crossing. We are not coordinating with anyone to go to Canada. We're not doing it. Adams said there was no role that the city is playing to tell migrants to go to Canada. Well, there's only one issue with that statement, as NBC New York hits us with the facts of the case. As recently as yesterday, Mayor Adams denied reports that the city was buying bus tickets to Canada for migrants, but used for his learned that the Adams administration, which was condemned Texas for busing migrants to Manhattan, as in fact buying those tickets, is where government affairs reporter Melissa Russo in the newsroom with a story. Melissa? Everyone listen to this. You know Adam, New York City has for many years paid for bus tickets or plane tickets to help move people out of their New York City homeless shelter system to free up space. And they are still doing that. Mayor Adams wants people to know, though, that he's not forcing migrants to relocate someplace else against their will. No, we don't send migrants to Canada needs to be clear. But later the mayor's spokesman clarified in fact the city is paying for bus tickets to Canada, but only for migrants who want to relocate. It's an important distinction for Mayor Adams, who does not want to be accused of doing the same thing to Canada, as the governor of Texas did to New York. Oh, it's an important distinction that Mayor Eric Adams really thinks help clarify the situation. Listen to this absolute copine from this New York City clown. Some of the migrants are asking to go to Canada and we're getting them a bus ticket. Or an amazing partnership with Catholic Charities who they just has. They have the history of being there. For those who need, those who are seeking to go somewhere else, not we're pushing or forcing if they're seeking to go somewhere else. We are helping in the re-ticketing process of what we found that people had other destinations, but they were being compelled only to come to New York City. And we are assisting in interviewing those who seek to go somewhere else. Some wants to go to Canada, some wants to go to warmer states, and we are there for them as they continue to move on with their pursuit of this dream. He's trying to pretend as if there's a big distinction between the two, but the reality is there is no real discernible distinction. In fact, the only one that I could think of is that what Eric Adams is doing is even worse, because he's disrespecting the Canadian border and Canadian sovereignty and just shipping illegal migrants into a foreign country. His frankly, B's justification is that, well, oh, some people want to go there and we're just helping them get where they want. Yeah. So you're enabling illegal migration and disrespecting the sovereignty of a foreign nation. You're a clown. Not to mention that's pretty much the exact same thing that the Texas governor is doing. I mean, we've covered this topic so many different times. I've seen so many interviews of actual illegal migrants crossing over and people ask them, where do you want to go? And mostly people say New York, it's the Big Apple. A lot of illegal migrants coming into the United States don't understand the differences between the states. And they just see New York City in movies and whatnot and say, that's where I want to go. That's my dream place to land, the land of opportunity. I want to go to New York City where all the money is. We have seen interviews of illegal migrants crossing the border with on-the-ground journalists asking people, where do you want to go? And the most common answer is New York City. And so this idea that what Eric Adams is doing is different from what Texas Governor Greg Abbott is doing is completely flawed. It's a flawed argument. Once again, Democrats are trying to paint this picture as if they're the compassionate liberals who are just trying to do the right thing for people. But if anything, they're more guilty. What he's doing is more unethical. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but during the early days of the Trump administration, a lot of illegal migrants started to head towards Canada, fearing being caught in the United States illegally during the Trump administration, which clearly was going to be a lot more hands-on, a lot more proactive when it came to illegal immigration and, policing borders. Well, I remember tons of reports from that time suggesting that the Canadian immigration system, Customs and Border Patrol, was a lot more harsh than the American system. In other words, people were getting deported almost instantaneously. So Eric Adams is essentially sending people into a fast-track deportation system. I mean, there are so many different elements that make what these Democrats are doing unethical. Eric Adams, from what I understand, is putting a multi-billion-dollar price tag on the handling of this influx of illegal migrants into New York City, a total waste of taxpayer dollars. He's selling false hope and a false dream to illegal migrants, paying for their bus ride, sending them to an illegal border crossing, an unofficial border crossing into Canada, disrespecting another country's borders. I mean, let's really put it into perspective. In terms of the unethical nature, I'd say at this point, he's guilty of human trafficking. And then, of course, the macro view. I mean, the Democrat Party, which he's a card-carrying member of, is complicit down the pipeline. It's an illegal immigrant pipeline. They were hoping to inundate mostly red states on the southern border. Of course, the majority of the problem lands in Texas, Let the Texas government deal with the problem. If they do or say anything, just call them racist and keep moving on and keep enabling this illegal migrant racket. It's benefiting the drug cartels to the tune of billions upon billions of dollars. It's one major unethical racket. I'd call it a human smuggling racket. And so the idea that there's any moral superiority that lies on the opposing side? Well, that I'd say is a very laughable concept. Once again, Democrats go on and on squawking like a bunch of damn frickin' birds, pretending that they're the good guys and Republicans are the bad guys, but it just doesn't line up with the basic facts. And holy moly, could you imagine if Ron DeSantis or Governor Greg Abbott was paying to bus illegal migrants to Canada, what the outrage would be when one party does it? They're fascists, they're evil when the other party does it. It's always justified the compassionate and the right thing to do paying to bus illegal migrants through another country's border. The Democrat Party really is the party of absolute lawlessness, and it really shows you how their talking points never stand up to scrutiny at all. They claim that these people aren't migrants, but actually they're asylum seekers. Well, wouldn't asylum seekers want to enter the first safe country that they could possibly get into to escape political persecution? This isn't asylum seeking, this is country and economy picking. Pick the economy, pick the country that you want to go. Oh, what state would you like to go to? My friend will pay for it on taxpayer dimes. Oh, you want to go to Canada? Well, it's your lucky day. Here's Oprah Winfrey with a free bus ticket straight to Canada. Oh, you'd like to go to Europe? Well, here's a plane ticket catching the next flight to the European Union. Whatever destination you prefer, whatever country you want. Go on right ahead. These aren't asylum seekers. They're simply the pawns in this globalist open border cheap labor smuggling scheme. Thanks for being here, folks. Big hug. Ciao. Goodbye. God bless.